Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our special spoiler review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. My name is Sean Wascrew. With me, as always, is my co-host Brian Michaels. This movie was on our most anticipated list of the year. I think top top four of the year. I think it was.
Oh, I'm sure it was up there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really high. And then obviously it was probably our number one, number two prediction for being the number one box office or number two box office of the summer during our summer movie preview. This has been a movie that, especially since No Way Home, that has been on everyone's minds. Everyone's been talking about this movie like crazy because Multiverse of Madness and just what possibly could be coming from this film. The first trailer dropped. We saw different versions of Doctor Strange. We knew Wanda was going to be in this coming off the events of WandaVision. There was a lot of speculation, a lot of predictions, a lot of randomness that people thought was going to happen. A lot of people thought it was going to be a bunch of crazy, stuff because of the title. Also, Sam Raimi directing it, who did Spider-Man films, first trilogy, and of course, Evil Dead, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of anticipation coming into this film. Now, Brian and I both just watched this hours ago. We're shooting this on Thursday. It's probably not going to drop until like Saturday, Sunday. So we're only a couple hours removed from seeing this film. I'm going to start with Brian. Brian, what were your general thoughts of the movie before we jump in?
Okay. Well, first going into it, I was anticipating this. Like you said, it was one of our top most anticipated movies. I think it because like after Endgame, basically, we had Spider-Man, Far From Home, and then was after Endgame, right?
Yeah, Far From Home.
People left and came back. I'm sorry, I just had mind.
Yeah.
But then you had then the COVID era hit, and then even when it came back, you had like Shang-Chi and Black Widow, which were fun, were good movies, but it wasn't like those must-see kind of Marvel event kind of things. And so I was like,
basically, the TV shows became the must-see.
Yeah, because then the next movie was Eternals, which in my opinion was mostly dog shit. There are a couple okay things about it, but largely it's probably a movie I might never watch again. And then Spider-Man came out, and Spider-Man was a great movie. We both loved it. It's obviously not Disney, it's Sony, but it's still MCU. And that kind of introduced the whole multiverse idea. And of course, you had the cameos or not cameos, but you had the characters from the other Spider-Man movies come in, things like that. And then Doctor Strange, of course, is a part of it leading into this. So yeah, I think a lot of people went into this with this anticipation of like, oh, this one's going to have all kinds of cameos too. It's going to have this person. And people had these crazy lists. It was going to have Tom Cruise as an alternate Iron Man, and it's going to have Fantastic Four. It's going to introduce the X-Men, and Magneto's going to show up, and all this. And we're just like, okay.
I saw the Tom Cruise. Remember, I'm like, no, it's not.
Well, there have been people who have speculated. I mean, there have been people going on the whole list, kind of like we've done a recast. They're basically going on a list of Marvel characters and saying, I bet that person's going to be in there. I bet that person's going to be in there. But that person's going to be in there. And it's like, you guys are expecting way too much from this movie,
especially for the runtime that it was in.
Right. So I mean, it's nice to you can hope all you want, but don't be disappointed in the movie itself because you didn't get what you built up in your mind.
Yeah.
That is just to say that I went into this not expecting anything more than what it was. I went into this knowing what I only watched the main trailers. I tried to avoid TV spots, but obviously even just from the poster, you saw Captain Britain's shield. You saw in the trailer, even in the first trailer, you knew Patrick Stewart was in there as Professor X. So I knew these kind of things going in there. But I didn't expect anything more. And I think I got what I expected out of it, which is it is a good movie. It is a fun movie. It did not blow me away. I did not love it the way that some people I think do. I know some people are loving the Sam Raimi touches to it, and honestly, personally, I think the Raiminess was one of the things I didn't like about the movie. Kind of took away from it for me. But just as far as just general thoughts, yeah, it's I enjoyed it, but it had its flaws.
All right, so now we got Brian's out of the way. I mean, honestly, beforehand, I was thinking more it was going to be kind of like a Batman situation where it was like it's overrated. Everyone's talking this up the ass, and it's not that good. Honestly, that's better than I hoped for Brian because from initial like little talks here and there, I was like, oh crap, he did not like this movie. So that's a thumbs up for Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah. For me, like I said, it's kind of the same thing going with Brian is, yeah, I mean, Loki kind of, I guess, opened up the multiverse before Spider-Man did, but with everything happening, yeah, there was all these predictions, expectations. I didn't have that going into it. Like I said, I saw the initial trailer with Professor Xavier, and I it's hard not to hear about the Captain Britain shield from What If. So I knew that.
On the poster.
What's that?
And it was on the poster.
Yeah, it was on the poster too. And I knew there was going to be multiple versions of Doctor Strange, but I wasn't going in thinking, oh, the whole entire cast of X-Men is going to come through and all this shit. No, I didn't have that mindset. I just went in with the first thing I ever heard about Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. That's before we knew what the plot was. That's before anything that we knew about this movie. First thing I heard about it is that this is going to be the MCU's first horror film. And I immediately went, fuck yes. I want to see what they do with this. And granted, we kind of got a horror version in What If with the zombie episode. That was actually a pretty good horror cartoon episode of it.
And it wasn't MCU, but New Mutants kind of did the horror in a superhero setting.
They did, but this is the MCU's first horror film. And so that was the first thing that locked me in, going, I am immediately intrigued. And now, granted, it was a different director at the time. I can't remember who the director was prior.
Scott Derrickson.
Yeah, Scott Derrickson. He backed out, and then Sam Raimi came in, and I immediately got even more excited. One, because I at least like 2/3 of the Spider-Man trilogy that he did. Plus, I love The Evil Dead. I love Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I love everything about those movies. Maybe not so the first one, but the second, the third one, and the TV series. I love all that. So knowing that he was going to be directing it, a lot of that was like, how much are they going to let Sam do Sam stuff? Because, you get those directors in these kind of movies, and you're like, yeah, they're directing it, but Feige in the studio, they're really directing this. These people are just there to be the name behind it. So I was wondering how much we were going to get of actual Sam Raimi's touch, because there are good Sam Raimi films, which I mentioned, and then, or even Drag Me to Hell. I like Drag Me to Hell. But then there are also some bad Sam Raimi films. He does have some certain things he does that doesn't work, like every director does, like we mentioned with Michael Bay and other directors, where they have little things like Tarantino, where they do little things for like, don't Tarantino this, don't do this. But they have goods with their bads, and I was wondering exactly how much Raimi was going to get to do in this film. Like you, I watched the first main trailer. I didn't watch any of the commercial spots. I didn't watch the trailer 2, trailer 3, the final trailer, any of that crap, because I just knew they were eventually going to start giving out too much crap. So I went in with, I was excited to see it because of what it was going to be. But I wasn't going in with like No Way Home expectations, because I thought the first Doctor Strange was fine. I didn't love it. I've only maybe rewatched that movie once since it's come out. I have not been a huge Doctor Strange fan. I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I just didn't think that movie was.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the original Doctor Strange. I mean, at the time, it was still like mid-tier Marvel. But keep in mind that everything except Eternals, I think, is very good Marvel movies.
I mean, there's Eternals, and then there's like Iron Man 2 and Thor: Dark World, and then there's like everything else. And then Iron Man. So, but
Doctor Strange for me was like mid-tier, but that's still really good.
Yeah, mid-tier.
I've actually enjoyed it more on rewatch since like he's had more parts in like Infinity War, things like that. I've actually rewatched Doctor Strange, and I actually enjoyed it more.
Yeah, mid-tier MCU is still better than a lot of movies out there.
Oh, yeah.
And the main thing that I was intrigued by was obviously Wanda. What were they going to do with Wanda in this? Because WandaVision, it started off a little clunky for me, but by the end of it, I thought Elizabeth Olsen put on a phenomenal performance as Wanda. The heartbreaking storyline with her and Paul Bettany's vision by the end of that series, I thought was masterful. So I was wondering exactly how much she was going to be in this film, how they were going to handle her situation, and basically how to go from there. By the end of this movie, I loved it. I thought it was great. Yes, in this movie, they let Sam Raimi be Sam Raimi. They let Sam Raimi be Sam Raimi, the good and the bad. There were so many parts of this movie where I was like, oh my God, they're actually letting Sam do this. I'm so happy they're letting Sam do this. And then there are other parts where I'm like, okay, they probably should have pulled the reins back on Sam on that one. But, and I told Brian this, and I posted on my Facebook, which Brian responded with, really? Was I had so many, like, just sitting there going, holy shit. Not because I was, like, shocked, but I mean, I was shocked because they really pushed the envelope on the stuff that they allowed in this movie. This was a straight-up horror film, and I fucking loved it. There's so much stuff that happens in this movie that I'm like, damn, they are really gonna let them do this in an MCU movie? Shit, some kids are gonna have nightmares watching this thing. Like they turn. I mean, this is a spoiler review, so I'm gonna spoil the shit out of it. They turned Wanda, who has become kind of one of the most beloved characters in the MCU after WandaVision, and they turned her into like fucking Freddy Krueger in this movie, man. Like she was fucking terrifying in this film, and some of her just like popping out of nowhere, like the way she took care of Xavier at that one point, man. Like I fucking loved everything they did with Wanda in this movie.
Xavier, but what about the way she took care of Captain Carter and the way she took care of?
We're getting into all that. We're getting into all that. Trust me. But I loved like even that scene where like they're being chased down the hallways and she's just like creepily like almost like a freaking zombie chasing them. Like I loved everything about that. The Doctor Strange of it all. I think Doctor Strange's story was solid, but to me, this even though it's kind of like with Civil War, yes, it's a Captain America sequel. But is it really a Captain America movie? No, it's Avengers 2.5. Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Yes, Doctor Strange is on camera most of the film. It is his movie. But to me, it felt like WandaVision season 2.5. Because this is more to me about Wanda than it is about Strange. Because at the end of the day, the story is about Wanda's journey and where it inevitably ends up. Doctor Strange is just having a bad day. He's at Christine's funeral. She asks him, "Are you happy?" And that's kind of what's that?
Wedding.
What did I say? Funeral.
I
said wedding. She was at her wedding. I mean, I always got really upset for a second there because the first time they showed her husband, you only saw the back of his head, and I thought it was Coleman Domingo. And I was about to get so pissed. They fucking wasted Coleman Domingo on that scene, and then they finally showed his face. I was like, "Oh, it's not Coleman, thank God." But if anyone who's watched our fantasy Dreamcast of X-Men, you'll understand why. But I really enjoyed this film. I was on the edge of my seat, literally, especially when one scene of the movie starts to happen and we get some reveals. I literally went from like leaning back in my chair watching it to I'm fucking all the way up here. I am in. At the hour mark, I was locked the fuck in. This movie literally takes no breaks. Could it have taken some breaks? Yes. Could it have used another 20 minutes to allow some filler storytelling to happen? Absolutely. But we can always beg for more time. But for the time that we got in this film, I had a fucking blast watching this. This completely blew my expectations out of the water. And I had so much fun watching this. We're gonna dive obviously a lot more into this, but Brian obviously didn't see it nearly as much as I did, or like did nearly as much as I did. But I had a blast watching this movie, and I was so happy with what we got because I was not expecting them to go as deep as they went with Wanda's like horror shit. But let's dive into the beginning. I mean, the intro. I mean, we have this obviously not our Doctor Strange, but he's running down what looks like the fucking Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. Or even Asgard at that point, with our newest character. Please say her name.
America Chavez?
No, I meant her actress's name.
No chance. Xochitl Gomez? I have no idea how to pronounce her name.
I heard it in the reviews. It sounds like her name actually sounds like a regular name, but it's spelled really weird.
It's spelled Xochitl.
Yeah, I don't know how to say her name properly, but America Chavez, which for the first for the first half hour of that movie, I thought they were saying Erica, and they were just really being an emphasis on "ka," and I was like, "Oh no, they're saying America." But we get to see them, and they're being chased by some kind of demon. It was really hard to kind of make out what that character was, but ultimately got to the point where they kind of hit a roadblock, and Doctor Strange decides, "I'm just gonna fucking kill this chick," and ultimately he gets killed. And then she gets thrown through, I guess, the multiverse door is what we call it, I guess, in this movie, thus opening up our Doctor Strange. I thought that was a awesome way to start the movie. It also kind of, because of the brutality of how Doctor Strange died, and it kind of was like giving us like a nod, like, you think this is the worst of it? Just wait.
Well, here's the thing: is they start this is the very first scene of the movie,
yeah.
And Doctor Strange is running with this girl, and they're fighting something, and honestly, at that point, we don't know that it's not our Doctor Strange. I'm like thinking
it was more his look. I knew it wasn't.
I kind of figured it might not be, but you don't know that for sure because I mean, he could just have different hair, different costumes. He's off on another adventure. We haven't seen him in a while, you know.
Yeah.
because we don't know how long after like Spider-Man this takes place. So I'm watching this, and he's got kind of a funny, and he starts speaking Spanish, and then so I'm like thinking, oh, is this like the Spanish Doctor Strange? But of course, then he switches to English after that, and so I'm like, okay, that's not what this is. I honestly thought this was gonna be like a Spanish Doctor Strange. Um, so yeah, there's that, and then it wasn't until basically that he got killed that I was like, okay, now I know for sure it's not ours.
Yeah, and so we get caught up with our Doctor Strange, where he's going to the wedding of Christine, which I mean, Rachel McAdams is great, but I didn't really feel like this was a character that needed to be resurfaced. But obviously, later in the film, it matters. It matters.
It is, but at the same time, it's like I feel like
so much has happened since then.
I'm not sure why some of these women or actresses take these roles that basically they're just there to be like the girlfriend,
Right, because of the paycheck.
And well, that's just it. Up and coming actress, something that's fine. But when you have somebody like Rachel McAdams, or even like Gwyneth Paltrow at one point,
or even at the time Natalie Portman before this latest.
Yeah, and they're like, really, you don't need to be taking these little supporting, like just the girlfriend roles. Now, if she knew that eventually, she was going to have a bigger part, or if Natalie Portman knew eventually she's going to become whatever it is, Lady Thor, Mighty Thor, whatever they call her, that makes sense. But so I'm surprised that Rachel McAdams came back for this, but I'm sure, it was just a matter of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, we know, especially after What If. I think if we didn't have What If, I don't think any of us would have really cared about the Christine Doctor Strange relationship at all. Now, obviously, after that What If episode, that was obviously more prevalent in everyone's brains for anyone who watched What If. But I mean, this is a character which, to me, so much has happened with Doctor Strange since his first film that's like, oh shit, she's still actually around. Like, I didn't realize he actually really, because he never mentions her in any other movie since his first film. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's still a thing, But we get their whole wedding thing, nothing real special about that. But then we get the attack outside with the I don't know what they call the squid monster.
I don't even remember what they called it.
Yeah, but I thought that fight was cool as shit. Like, you really got Doctor Strange to really kind of like do some real cool magic stuff, especially Wong too. I just loved how inventive it was with some of the action sequences to it. I loved like how the eventual end of that fight went, which once again showed the brutality of what this film was going to give us. What were your thoughts on that actual fight scene?
That first fight scene was one of the things that I thought felt very much like a Sam Raimi film. That felt like when you were talking earlier about, like you said, like Wanda going in the hallway looking like a zombie or something. That stuff, cool as hell. The stuff that felt more like his old Spider-Man films is what I didn't like about the movie. And I thought this opening fight scene felt very much like one of Raimi's Spider-Man films. I thought the action, just the way it looked, the way it was staged, some of the shots, and honestly, even the special effects in some parts really looked very green screen early 2000s. In a lot
For anyone who doesn't realize that Brian does not like Raimi's Spider-Man.
I'm not a big fan of Raimi's Spider-Man at all. I don't hate it, but they're the worst Spider-Man films. Yeah, I said it. So anyway, so while I thought there was some cool, inventive, like you said, use of magic, got to see them do some more things they haven't done before. Yeah. It did feel like a step backward for me a little bit. I wasn't quite what I was hoping for. I also thought it was funny that everyone else comes out and they're watching this. There's a monster destroying the city outside. 10 minutes into the fight, Christine comes to the balcony like, "Oh, what's going on out here?" I'm like,
she was at her wedding. She has her priorities under control.
She didn't hear the screaming and crashing and explosions.
You got to remember, at the very beginning of that the monster was invisible. Doctor Strange had to unveil him.
I know, but even once they started fighting him, it was like 10 minutes into the fight before she even came out to the balcony. When her entire wedding,
it is her wedding. She's doing what she wants. She's probably eating some cake. She could have been having a little quickie with the husband.
What's that sound of buildings falling down outside? Oh, I don't care. I'm eating cake.
Oh, I'm sure it's Steven doing some shit. It's like, and then afterwards, like, they're still going at it. Let me go check and see what's going on. I guarantee that's probably what was going on in her head.
Damn it, who's keeping all my guests away from my party?
Like, really, he's trying to upstage my fucking wedding? It's like, you asshole. Because the whole time she's watching it, she's not impressed. She really isn't. Like, her husband's like, that was great. She's like, that's fucking Steven stealing my fucking thunder. Like, you can see in her face, she was not at all impressed with what he was doing.
And I will say, you could see right from this first fight scene that they gave Wong a big part in this movie.
I love that they gave Wong has been like secretly like growing up the ranks as like, you know, between this and like Eternal or not Eternals.
You always do.
Shang-Chi.
I was half expecting Shang-Chi to show up in one of these battles because he was like with Wong, like either this one or the one at the.
I actually would have been okay with them to at least, you know, name drop him at one point, especially when they were at Carmitage. I was expecting maybe Shang-Chi or even Aquafina to, you know, pop up at for a moment there. But I mean, afterwards, you know, we kind of get the breakdown of the whole multiverse stuff. I did actually like a little banter back and forth about Spider-Man and the girl not understanding what the hell Spider-Man was, you know, shooting the webs out of his butt. Wait, I don't think so. I hope not. great little. That's what I love about Benedict. Him and Wong's back and forth always.
They're a great dry delivery.
So good, so great. So that naturally, very, very quickly, we go right to Wanda. Like I said, this is what I'm talking about. The movie's just bam, bam, bam. They're just going quick. And what kind of shocked me was that they did not waste any time letting us know Wanda's the one doing this.
I thought to a fault. I mean, not
that was one of the things where I was saying this is where that 20 minutes of extra time.
And it wasn't even a matter of like, I mean, yes, there could have been more scenes, but I spent within the scene. All of a sudden, it's just like, I did it. I'm gonna kill her. Like, whoa,
well, no, she did the whole thing where she said her name, and even I was like, he never said her name,
which is such an.
It is a cliche move. It is a cliche move.
But then she just turns and not only does she then reveals that, okay, you know, yeah, this is all an illusion and I was doing this, but like, even though she didn't have to, because she could have said that, yeah, I know what's going on. I've been keeping tabs on this girl because, you know, whatever. But she immediately says, oh yeah, I'm going to take her and take her powers and kill her because I want, like, whoa, can we back up a little bit?
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like when we last saw Wanda, she was reading the, is it called the Dark Note?
The Darkhold.
Darkhold. I mean, so she was reading the Darkhold.
But Strange doesn't know that.
No, he didn't. But she also probably was like, look, Strange is not I'm not gonna probably be able to fake Strange out. So I might as well just fucking come out and say this. Because her thing was too, is how she even explained it. She goes, hey, you got to make a decision about everybody's lives when you gave the ring or the time stone to Thanos. Why can't I take this one person that you don't fucking even know so I can have my family? Why can't I have my kids? And I love that line. Even though it's in the trailer, it is a great line. You do this, you're dubbed a hero. I do this, and all of a sudden I'm a villain. Make that make sense to me. Which, I mean, Strange killed trillions in a sense and then a connection to that probably millions when they snap back by making this decision. She's going to kill just one person. And then he's, no, you can't do that. And then we get the the potential battle at Carmitage. I do think that her getting in that moment of her getting in by going to the one dude and going run, I thought it was like that was kind of lazy.
The one dude runs, knocks over 4 people on his way out, which creates a big enough hole for her to shoot through.
No, like that was the one part where I was like, they probably could have found a better way to do that. That's one of those things where Raimi is like that was a little lazy Raimi right there, where they just had to pick a random person, which I knew. Like it was one of those things where it's like he stood out. That kid stood out like a sore thumb the first time I saw him, and I was like, when she's like picking, I was like, she's gonna pick the fucking kid with the curly hair and mustache. Like I know she is. Then as soon as he popped up, I was like, yep.
And think about Wanda's powers, especially since she became Scarlet Witch, it seems it's very kind of fluid as far as how powerful she is, because they talk about how she can just change reality on whim, but then she spends half her time just shooting energy beams when she could have just had the entire castle below them fall apart.
Well, I mean, which she did do eventually at the end of the movie, but I mean, it's one of those things where I think she didn't want that's the thing is like Wanda I don't think wants to kill everybody unless she has to. That's the kind of thing. It's like she doesn't want to just drop a whole fucking castle. Plus, the girl's in there. She can't blow up the castle and kill her. She's got to be able to pull her, power from her before she can kill her. So, I mean, it's one of those things where she didn't outright kill anybody.
Which, by the way, since when does everybody have the ability to steal powers? Since when is this the thing everybody has? Whether it be Strange or Wanda?
I don't know. But like I said, they did some studying in between movies. Apparently, it's a magic thing that we didn't know about. But I mean, it's one of those things where she didn't kill anybody until they attacked her first. At least in that moment, she didn't. But then I mean, she goes full dark side at that point, where she just is like, "Oh, I'm just gonna murk everybody," And then obviously we get the part where they're fighting, those two, and the first moment of this movie. Like, granted, she's killing a lot of people, but it's all like the generic MCU explosions thing where you're like, oh, okay, people are dying, but we're not really seeing death, all this kind of stuff. The first moment where I was like, holy crap, that was actually like terrifying to visual was when they're hiding in the room and they're trying to hide all the reflections, and she comes powering through. I think was it a gong that she went through? Mm-hmm. She like basically does the like Samara from the ring, and I was like, oh my god, like that was my first like holy shit moment right there. Like I said, like my moment, like my holy shit moments were like holy shit, my mind's blown. I was like holy shit, wow, okay, that's a way to go right there, because she came in fucking terrifying and just beating the living crap out of Wong and Strange. And there was at least 2 or 3 times in this movie I thought they killed Wong. And I was like,
well, the one time he fell, it looked like he like broke his neck because he landed on a step.
Exactly. In that moment,
I thought he was dead.
Oh shit. Yeah, and then the part where she like threw him off the cliff and we never saw him for like 20 minutes. I was like, I swear to God, they killed him.
Well, I knew he wasn't dead then because he falls into the mist. I'm like, nobody's ever dead.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was like, we haven't seen Wong in a while. Give me some Wong. But yeah, when he hit his head on the stair, I was like, no, you better not kill Wong. But yeah, so then they get through. They do like the I'll call it the Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse from the trailer we just saw, where they're going shooting through all the multiple like little verses. And I love like when it got to the cartoon, the like audio changed. Danny Elfman's score in this was great. I loved it. I know
later in the film, I loved it. It was that opening scene. It just sounded very Spider-Man-y. And so I was just like, little too Raimi for me. But then by later in the movie, I really did enjoy it. I will talk about my favorite music cue later.
Yeah, there's a music cue later that I was like, and then there was another one where I was like, this is fucking great. But so we get like, what was it? We get like tons of little worlds. We get a cartoon world. I think we got like 2 cartoon worlds. We got a paint world, which was weird. And then they land in this, and then we finally get a little bit of backstory on America, which I think was good. Could they have touched a little more on it? Yes, but I think that little moment was literally kind of enough for her. Her character was fine, but I didn't want them to waste too much time on her, because part of me is like, how big is her character really going to be in the long
I kind of felt like the backstory moment they gave her was kind of unnecessary.
It's tiny because they're going to be removing that for like different countries.
Well, I thought I heard that. I thought I heard they refused to. Actually, it stood the ground this time. But whatever it is, it's just like, and I have no objection to what.
I don't either. I'm fine with it.
I just meant that it didn't really add anything to it, unless they're going to use her character. See, she's the kind of character I could see them making like a Disney Plus show for, or something like that.
See, here's where I'm thinking
more aimed more like at teens kind of thing.
I feel like her character would have hit harder for me if she ended up becoming like Miss Marvel, which I know Miss Marvel's a different backstory and all that stuff. We're getting a TV show with her, but she's around like the same age as her and stuff. So it's like, unless they're going to be
that's the whole thing. Is she another one that's going to end up in a potential future Young Avengers?
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where I was just like, by the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, I mean, she's still got those powers. It's not like those powers went away, but it's like, does she really need to know how to do this? Like, where's Ned?
Well, okay, that's the thing is okay. At the end, we were skipping ahead, but just because we're talking about her,
yeah,
like the end's like, why is she suddenly learning magic?
She doesn't need to.
She has her own power. Does that necessarily mean that she can do magic? I thought only certain people could do magic, but I guess maybe if you have powers, you're.
But that's not necessarily true. Doctor Strange or Stephen didn't know how to do powers. He learned how to do it.
True.
He didn't have like a special ability or anything. He just went and he said teach me, and they taught him. So I mean, Ned was the one that said, there's magic in my family.
At the end sequence, when you saw America there, I half expected to see Ned training next to her.
I did, but the problem is that would Ned have necessarily remembered doing all that after the mind wipe?
See, that's just it. Is
That's,
that they've been so fuzzy on it, and it seems to me my understanding was everybody remembers Spider-Man. They remember everything that happened. They just don't remember.
but would he have remembered
Peter Parker.
unlocking the multiple Spideys though? That's the
I don't
thing.
know.
Because he remember he was
That's one of
going.
those things. That's the big plot
The
hole
reason why I
in
don't think he
Spider-Man: No Way
did.
Home.
The reason why I don't think he did is because he goes, "Show me Peter Parker. Show me Peter Parker," and that's when they showed up. And he is not supposed to know who Peter Parker is.
Right.
Or
But he later opened more portals later, like on the Statue of Liberty. So who knows?
Yeah, we had no idea. We just totally sidetracked back to No Way Home. We talked enough about No Way Home. But I lost my train of thought where the hell we were at. Oh, yes, we're on the second world. I love how they kind of go other strange. Also, funny moment too. We kind of skipped over is when he just buries the other strange body. It was just like, wait, I've buried worse things.
Well, of course, because we saw what he looked like. We're like, okay, that's the zombie strange we've seen in the trailer. I'm like, I know he's coming back.
I honestly, I didn't even.
I think he's even in the first trailer.
I know Zombie Strange was going to be in there at some point, but I did not. For some reason, my brain did not.
Oh yeah, it's the same one. He got the same cuts in his face and stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's Zombie Strange. I didn't know how or why he was going to come back, which we'll get to later.
Yeah,
but
I did not connect the dots there until he's like, well, you didn't say my body had to be alive. I'm like, gotcha.
And then, so then they're in this world, which is essentially like our world, except apparently plants growing everywhere.
And red means
red
go,
and green are mixed, which
stop.
is weird. It seems that's my problem with like multiverse. That's what I was afraid like a multiverse movie would be. It'd just be like, oh, here's some funny ways things are different. Like if you're gonna have different stranges, things like that, I get that. But to have like an animated world and a paint world, I was like, okay, guys, let's just back off on being weird.
Well, I mean, they didn't spend much time. They were in there.
I know, but just the fact that they existed, like that doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Well, that explains everything everywhere all at once, where they had the hot dog fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the worst part of that movie. But I mean, ultimately we get. I loved this. You did not like it.
I did not.
Which is the Bruce Campbell cameo, which I was so happy to see Bruce because come on, man. And then they even did the Evil Dead of it all, where he's punching himself in the face. Like, I love that.
The tone of the Spider-Man movies were fine for Bruce Campbell cameos. To shoehorn him into this movie, where it doesn't fit the tone of the movie, it just takes you out of the movie. It's cameo for cameo's sake. It's just him and he's about punching himself. It's just stupid.
No, that was an Evil Dead. That was an Evil Dead nod. That wasn't a Spider-Man nod. That was an Evil Dead nod.
I know, but I'm saying it took you out of the movie. It takes you out of the movie. It's like it's cameo for cameo's sake.
Anyone who doesn't know Sam Raimi as a director or even know Bruce Campbell's not going to get that joke. That's for
exactly. Which why they're going to be like, why is this in here? Why is this guy acting stupid?
Because she was stealing his food. He's the pizza man, But it's I liked it, and I actually
ever made anybody else punch himself for a couple days. No,
I mean,
yeah,
we don't know. We don't know. You haven't seen what he does when he's alone on Saturday nights, but
I had to pay extra for that.
Is that the Disney Plus edition? But anyway, so we move towards basically more the bigger goal of what Wanda is trying to do. She's basically trying to do like a dream walker, once again Freddy Krueger-esque kind of thing, where she's trying to take over the mind of basically her other versions of herself, kind of very much like Everything Everywhere All at Once. This really correlates with that movie a lot more than people think it would. And once again, this is another moment where I was like, wow, Raimi's actually going to do a callback, which was also, once again, Evil Dead. We got that point where like real Wanda's like looking through the stairs at her and then it peeks away, kind of like the Evil Dead did. I actually really liked that. I thought that was, once again, scary moment. Works really, really well. It was enough to shut the fucking kids up because I'm sorry, the twins annoy me. But I mean,
yeah, I don't think they're very good actors either, by the way.
No, I mean, one of those things was like, well, they're playing their ages. I guess that's like supposed to be okay, but it's like, I don't care. But I loved, that whole kind of like I said, horror aspect, like that Wanda gets possessed, or good Wanda, I guess, gets possessed. Just that whole scene, the way they shot it, and like how like the way her like pictures changed, like she was being watched and all that kind of stuff. I just loved everything they chose to do in that moment, in that scene. And then I'm blanking, is with Strange in Them, isn't this where they go to see is it Mordor? How How the
Well,
fuck?
yeah, because they're in that world, and they find out that there is a museum to Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
So they want
from
to find the Doctor Strange of that world,
yeah.
and that's where they see Mordo.
Which did I wish it was from the original world? Sure, because I wanted to see where that line was going. But
Well, that's what frustrated me is because he says like, oh, he's devoted the rest of his life to trying to kill me or whatever. It's like we never got to see any of that. We never saw Mordo again. We never got to see any battle
yeah,
between them.
that's one of those things where it's like there's some storyline missing there, which
Yeah.
I'm hoping, hopefully, if when we get Doctor Strange 3, if we do, that's something we will hopefully get. I heard Benedict wants to take a break from acting after this movie.
Well, the end credits did say Doctor Strange will return. We just
He
don't know if
did,
it's
but
in a Doctor
that
Strange movie or if it's in some other movie.
Yeah, I still want Chiwetel to have a bigger part in these movies.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he basically still shows that he's, I'm not necessarily evil, but he's not trustworthy. He knocks out both of them, and then we get them in the glass cases, and we get to see this version's Christina, which movie trivia wise, they're gonna be asking, what world is this? Earth, what was it, 818 or 828 or some shit like that. And then of course to me the part of the movie that really just locked me in, which was the Illuminati. Anything you want to say before we get to the Illuminati?
No, I got stuff for Illuminati, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we get to the Illuminati scene. Obviously, is it Mordor or
Mordo?
Mordo.
No,
I want to say Mordor.
Mordor is
in Rings. It's Lord of the Rings. Damn it. We first we see. Wasn't that Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel? Yeah.
Maria
so
Rambeau.
I was like, that is her friend, right?
Yeah, it's Maria Rambeau.
Yeah, it's Maria Rambeau. Monica Rambeau.
Which, by the way, I just in preparation for this, I brought up Letterboxd so I could check on things. They got everybody listed there. All the cameos, everything is in the cast list. So it's like
not on IMDb. They're not. No one's on it.
On Letterboxd as of today, they do.
I checked IMDb after the movie ended. The only person that's on there is Patrick Stewart because he was in the trailer. They don't have anyone else listed. So IMDb tries to stay clear for spoilers for everybody, because I was trying to look something up and I couldn't find it because IMDb didn't have it. But we get the Illuminati. We get Mordo is obviously there. We get
they're on there now, by the way.
What's that?
They are on there, but now
they weren't at 4:00 today.
Everybody is on there now. Anyway,
yeah, they weren't on there at 4:00. But so we get Monica Rambeau with Captain Marvel, and then the moment where I literally went, yes, was John Krasinski as fucking Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. My prediction is correct. Booyah! Or everyone's prediction, because we all wanted that. I literally lost my shit at that moment. I was so happy to see Krasinski as Reed Richards. Even though it kind of looked like his head was on a G, kind of like it was almost like a Green Lantern effect. His head looked like it wasn't a part of the body.
I don't know.
He looked weird.
When they first showed him appear, I was like, that dude is not on that set. He is totally just green screen in there. So I thought maybe they just filmed him somewhere else. But then later on in a couple scenes,
he looked fine. Yeah,
I'm not sure he was on set with the rest of the people, but his head at least looked like going to the body. I will say, I did not care for the suit at all.
I mean, they'll make it better when they actually film the damn movie. But whether or not he's going to be in it or not, we got him. That's all that matters. We got him as Reed at one point. And when she brought up his wife, I was like, oh, if Emily Blunt shows up, I'm going to fucking lose my shit.
If she showed up, I would have been super surprised.
I would have lost my shit. And then we get a character that we never, ever in a million years thought we'd ever see again. Who was he?
Let me say the full name correctly. And that is Blackagar Boltagon.
Yeah, from
Black
the
Bolt.
Inhumans show.
From the Inhumans, which I honestly didn't even realize he was on the Inhumans until I found out later after I saw the movie, because I wanted to see. I'm like, oh, who played Black Bolt? And then I read like, oh, he was on that Inhumans shit show.
Yeah, the thing that lasted like 2
I'm like,
episodes.
oh god.
Yeah.
They
never
acknowledged the existence of this.
Never in a million years would I think that he would have popped up. But he popped up, and I was like, is that the same actor? It's like pretty positive it's the same actor. And then of course, the moment that we all knew, and then of course Peggy Carter as Captain Britain, which she looked great. She looked great. She always looks great, but she looked great in the suit. And then of course the moment we already knew was in it because of the trailer, but the old school Xavier chair, and then when you hear the animated,
just a very like quiet.
So quiet. I was like,
That was my favorite movie of the entire
my,
movie. I'm like,
my whole face was grinning ear to ear. Like I was just like Krasinski, and then that needle drop, and I was like, I'm so happy right now.
because
I
they
went
very easily could have laid in the X-Men movie theme,
no, they
but they
went
didn't. They put an
animated with it.
animated one.
Oh, so like I went from like this to Krasinski, and I was like, and then you hear the, and I was like leaning over the railing like this, like just like I was like, if there's anyone watching me, they're laughing their ass off because I was like a little kid. I was like, I was so happy. I was so fucking happy they did that. Everything Illuminati, I fucking loved all of it. There, I could have done 2 more hours of the Illuminati, all that shit. Inevitably, you know, obviously we get some backstory on their Strange, which we got to see Thanos dead because after Endgame, basically it's not cool if you don't kill Thanos on every chance he pops on screen now with What If and all that kind of stuff. But and then of course they give Black Bolt, whatever the hell you want to call his name, they give him his little moment to shine right there where he kills Strange. But when Wanda shows up and it becomes Wanda versus the Illuminati, first things first, once again, in the holy crap they went there, when she kills Black Bolt.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just it. It's like she seals off his mouth, and then he like tries to yell anyway, so basically blows out the back of his own head. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, they actually did it. That gave me flashbacks to the first episode of Invincible, where I was like, oh my god. And then
I've been watching this, and I'm thinking, and then so like you watching Invincibles, for instance, I was kind of like, okay, this isn't okay. It's a superhero show, whatever. But then like the moment that it turns, it like comes a whole different thing. So I'm watching this. That happens to his head, and at first I'm just thinking like, okay, because nobody gives a crap about Black Bolt. So of course they're going to kill him off. But then,
then what I love about it too is that they did it, and then he fell to the ground, and the camera's like, no, we're staying on that. You get to watch it. I was like, yes. And then we get, granted, I didn't want him to die, but then she basically peels and unravels Captain Fantastic, and then at the very end blows up his head. And you're just like, what the fuck?
That was unexpected, I will say. Here's my thing about so I've got to the end of John Krasinski's arc here, obviously. So I will say, like, he showed up, I'm like, okay, haha, you know, people have always wanted to cast him. He probably will not be the
he probably won't, but you know, we got him in this one.
They put him in here for a little like tip of that to the fans or whatever.
Yeah.
Great. Although I will admit, I saw him in the outfit and kind of the way he talked, I'm like, I kind of wouldn't want him as Reed Richards now. He didn't quite fit for me. But it was still kind of cool to see him in there. It's just a small role like this. But then, yeah, she kind of unravels him, which it makes me worry for the Fantastic Four movie because the elastic looks and stuff look just as silly as you'd expect it to look. I still don't know how they're going to do that in a live action movie and have it not look completely silly. Yeah. But then when they blow off his head, I was like, oh, okay.
Like, they
did not see that coming.
They did not have to go that far.
I thought she'd unravel him, you know, kind of like in Infinity War when Thanos like turned people into ribbons and bubbles and things.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like that. So she's unraveling. I'm like, okay, they're gonna do like that. And nope.
But he's like screaming bloody terror, and it's like, oh no, this actually hurts. Yeah, and then you get a really cool fight sequence between her and Captain Marvel and Captain Britain, and then like she goes like, you know, she's throwing the shield back and forth, and then she throws the shield back, and I'm like, okay, like she's gonna grab it. She doesn't grab it.
Oh no, I knew exactly what happened at that point.
Well, I didn't know
if they were going to show it, and of course they didn't.
No, but you saw how the body kind of slid to the side.
Yeah, it's like she threw it, and then you were pretty sure what happened, and then they show the bloody shield, and she's like, oh, now I really know what happened, and then yeah,
it was just like, oh my god, like I said, holy shit, I'm going holy shit every 5 seconds on this thing. And then you get kind of like how it would be with Captain Marvel, you know, that part, you know, and then she drops a statue on it, which I don't think would have killed Captain Marvel.
I honestly didn't care about Captain Marvel. Honestly, the Illuminati as a whole, it's like I like the concept of it. I don't like the panel of it at all. It's like Captain Marvel, who cares? Captain Britain, I don't know why she'd make an Illuminati like controlling the future of the universe kind of panel. Black Bolt, of course, whatever. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, no, but like I didn't care about the Captain Marvel death because I don't feel like that would have killed her even remotely. But anyway, she was down. So then we do get to finally get a little fight scene between Strange and Mordo, which you don't want to kill him because it's Mordo. He doesn't deserve to die. But I do like, once again, their banter back and forth. When he finally gets the upper hand, it's like, I don't understand why the other one doesn't like you very much. Like, this little shit. We never saw him die either. We never saw him die. So Mordo is still out there, at least in our brains. And then we get the Xavier, which, whew, like, I love how they did the kind of like almost like the Matrix, where it was like the white room.
Let me ask you, when they showed him, and then he obviously had gone into her. Well, it looked like he was going into like her mind.
They were like into each other's kind of.
Yeah,
they were in each other's
and
brain.
I thought he had pulled her into some kind of mind world. I didn't realize he was going into the other Wanda's. But I was thinking, oh my God, is he gonna open? Is they gonna open that door and like Magneto's gonna be there, like talking to like his daughter, like, no, come on, Wanda.
That would have been amazing.
That's totally where I thought it was going, just because Magneto, because it was Patrick Stewart, and because Magneto is Wanda's dad. I totally thought it was going, and she opened the door and nothing. I'm like, oh.
Honestly, the way that movie was going, when he opened the door and he walked through, I honestly expected her to be behind the door going, hey, like that. Like, I expected it, because she had been doing everything like that already. But he's talking to the trapped version of Wanda. He's trying to get her out of that little hole that she was not going to fit through. And then you get this red, like I said, Freddy Krueger-esque red smoke basically coming behind him, and you see the horror in good Wanda's eyes. And basically her just reach through the fucking smoke, just crash, and it's just like, holy shit. And you just watch Xavier's real body just go, and it's like, under any other circumstance, I would have been like heartbroken to see Xavier die, but at that moment I was like, that's not my Xavier. My Xavier died in Logan, but it's like that moment is like.
And plus, I love that he reprised the role, but he looked so frail in this movie.
He did. You really saw the age in Patrick Stewart on that. But everything about this whole Illuminati scene to me was just fucking gold. And then, like I said, we get the chase sequence, which I thought was shot beautifully, horrifically, and because of the blood that was on the side of her face, she looked like she was dead as she was going after him and stuff. Everything about this to me was perfect.
And then because she had like cut her feet, she's like doing that limp, so it looked to be more like a zombie as she was chasing him.
And like, you're just looking back, and she just keeps coming, and she keeps getting closer and closer. And it kind of was one of those things where it's like you're watching in a horror movie, and it's like when they stop, you're like, why'd you stop? Keep running. What are you doing? What are you doing? And then like
next thing you know, they're gonna say, hey, maybe we should split up.
Yeah, and then there's the moment where they're just taking their sweet ass time. It's like, you really think water is gonna stop her? Or they dropping the things like, shut the door behind you, shut the door behind you. It was like I was literally sitting there in my head, I'm like, why aren't you doing this? Like, it had me hooked. It had me invested in that scene. And we get that little moment there where he opens the door, with the watch and stuff like that, which once again, it's like proven strange. It's all about Christine. Christine. They drop into the little, I forgot what they called it, the midpoint or the midway, whatever it was, where the book is.
I forgot what they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was mid. What it was
called.
Yeah, it was like a mid something.
The area between multiverses. Yeah.
Exactly, and thus that's the part of the movie where, and like in most movies, where the good guys they get overtaken by the bad guy, and they basically take the prisoner or the MacGuffin over, which exactly what happens there. And then we get basically Christine and Strange kind of sent this other world, which basically felt like kind of like Inception in a way, with like the world kind of being in on itself and kind of being like sucked into it.
Which honestly, the first whole Doctor Strange movie looked like Inception. So
it did. But this is kind of like
this is a more apocalyptic Inception.
Yeah, it was like in Inception where like the buildings were falling down and stuff at the end, like the third act kind of thing. Which this is when I knew I was like, oh, this is where we're getting dark Strange, because it's like the lighting and everything. Mm-hmm. It's where we're going with it. And then of course, we get the also with Wanda, we get her with Wong, and they go to that one building, and then you get those creatures. Which when that first one popped out, I was like, oh, where did that guy come from? Kind of thing. And you find out they're all like protectors of her. Which this is the part that made no sense to me. So, and maybe you can help me with this. So that place was in their world, correct? That's in our, the real MCU world, where that castle was, right? or throne or whatever the heck you want to call it.
because
So Scarlet was there.
because Wanda made Wong he ended up giving up the fact that the dark hold she had was actually just a copy. There's this original version at this place.
Yeah.
And then at the end, because at the end it's zombie. He has to dreamwalk into Zombie Strange. So yes,
that's their real world.
Yeah.
So here's the part that
this
is the part that kind of didn't make sense to me. So Wanda's got a shrine of herself on the wall, but so are her kids who were never born. So how are her kids on the wall if her kids were never born in that world?
I didn't even notice the kids, honestly. And
because she was in the middle, and then like next to her, like basically like knee high.
Well, I think because she said this isn't a tomb; it's basically a
throne,
temple, a throne. She said, kind of basically a shrine to her, and she said they were waiting for me. And so, I mean, just like people in ancient religions and that, they built statues of things they thought were going to appear. So maybe they built this shrine to Wanda, and the whole plan was to have her kids join her and blah, blah, blah. So
it's also weird that, I mean, granted, it was probably because of scheduling conflicts. It was like, why wasn't Viz in any of the other, like in the dreams or in the other worlds? Like, where was Vision?
She seemed just she's like, I want my kids, like,
a single mother kind of thing.
She doesn't even mention the idea of, I could have Vision back in this world too. No,
she's like, nope, I'm a single mom. But yeah, so we get to the introduction to Dark Strange with the third eye and everything, and we get, to me, probably one of the coolest things that I didn't think we needed in a Doctor Strange movie. And I was like, the whole time, like, as it starts, like, okay, this is a little weird, but then as it kept going, I was like, I'm actually kind of digging this. It's the second time I've ever enjoyed a music battle fight since Scott Pilgrim versus the World with the bass fight. We get Doctor Strange against Doctor Strange, and they're basically throwing musical notes at each other. And every time they throw the musical notes, like, it's actually riffing those notes. And it's like, it's so Raimi weird that it actually worked for me. And I have a feeling it didn't work for you.
That's exactly why it didn't work for me. Yeah. Because it does seem weird now. Because my first thought was, this feels like something out of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Because I mean,
but
they
could easily have Scott Pilgrim.
They can have whatever music fight they want. Why does he have to be throwing the music? Because he like watches the pages go up and he goes like, oh, I have this brilliant idea, and starts throwing the notes at him. And it's like, why did he need the notes off of paper to throw at him? And then the Dark Strange makes they call it the staff, the lines that the notes go on. He's throwing that back at him, and then they have the music go with it. I was just like, oh, please.
See,
that was one of those moments where I was kind of like, I liked the magic fight. The whole music aspect of it, I was kind of like rolling my eyes.
I embraced the weird of this, and Brian's like, no.
I told you, the Raiminess of this movie is the thing I like least about it.
But I
want to see Derrickson's version.
You want to what?
I want to see Derrickson's version. Anyway.
But yeah, so we got that fight there, and then I forgot, how did Dark Strange die? I'm blanking on how Dark Strange died.
He got impaled.
That's right. He got thrown out. He got thrown out and onto the fence, and then his third eye opened up and she screamed. That's right. So basically, we get to the inevitable point where he decides he needs to dream walk as well, and we get Zombie Strange, which aesthetically, Zombie Strange looked fantastic. Like, I was not expecting Zombie Strange to look as good as he did, especially with like the whole like cheek thing missing. What were your thoughts on how Zombie Strange looked?
I thought he looked really cool. It's in the trailers. I was kind of like, okay, how are they going to work another version of Doctor Strange and the Zombie Strange in? I had no idea that was going to be the good Strange. He was going to be a good guy.
Oh yeah, everyone in their mindset was like, this is bad Doctor Strange kind of thing.
But no, so I thought that it's really clever how it was done. I did think that the whole scene with him getting attacked by the demons. I thought that went on a little too long. But I like the result of it. I like the fact that he was like using the demons once he got control.
Yeah, like I was kind of in the same boat because they're like, "Oh, you're using this for bad." I was like, "You're just now starting to care about what he's doing." It's like, but yes, once he realized, "Hey, I can harness this," and he basically used them as like a shield and wings. I was like, "That's clever. That's really clever. I really like that." And then we get their kind of battle fight sequence kind of thing, which. Like I said, I liked all of that. I liked the way that looked. We got to see Wong was alive after being thrown off a cliff. Once again, Wong with his pitch perfect comedy. He throws the spike through the one. He's like, yeah. He's like, damn it. There's like three more. I love Wong so much. And like the moment where he finally climbs up and he sees Strange, and he's like, I don't even want to know. Like, whatever it is, just do it. Like, I don't even want to know what you did. but I the only part I think that I was kind of like on was when Strange was like freaking out in the other world with Christine, and she like, I forgot, she said something, and it like
the whole fact that he was like, I need you to protect me from the dark spirits or whatever. He looked like he was like having convulsions or something.
Yeah.
And then demons come out. Like, she knows how to fight off demons. And then she picks up this thing. And I don't know how did she know what to do? How did she know how to do that?
Thing.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, that part was like that was once again Raimi.
It seems like there was a scene cut out of there where like she found out something about that little cauldron that would have helped her.
That was one of little Raimi's going a little too far thing. Like, if anything, bring back the other Strange and maybe have her do something with him instead of the little demons kind of thing. Once again, stretching the story a little bit further. Giving some something for her to do except for boom boom these fireballs. But and then we get the moment with Strange in America, where he's like, oh, the power was in you all along. You just have to harness it, all this kind of stuff. And then she like basically
starts. You had the power in it all along.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
And then she basically starts punch. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can only kind of do so much with like, not that she's a kid, she's a teenager, but the story. Like I said, her story wasn't the strongest. It served its purpose of moving the progression of the story along, but in terms of me caring about the America character, no, she was the MacGuffin of the movie. Basically, there was 3 MacGuffins in the movie. You had both books, and you had her. They were all MacGuffins in this film. But yeah, so I mean, you have her moment where she rises up and fights Wanda, and she basically punches Wanda like 3 times. But then like that knocks her Wanda loose, and I did like the moment where she basically brings Wanda into secondary Wanda's world, because once again, that's bringing back the WandaVision of it all, bringing back the story, like her whole story, and like they dropped it throughout the entire film that she's doing this so she could be with her kids. She'll never let the kids see this version of her. That's never her intent. She's even said, like, what are your kids going to think about this? Like, they're never going to know. They're never going to know this. They're never going to have to deal with this. And then, boom, there it is. And you're seeing, her throw the other Wanda across the room. You're seeing the kids terrified and, screaming and tears running. And you basically watch her realize, kind of like finally, figure it out that I've become this monster. And like I said, Elizabeth Olsen, she just kills this role. Like, she's so good in this. And I feel like I know after WandaVision, a lot of people kind of giving her a lot more credit than she originally had gotten, but I still feel like she's still not getting the credit she deserves for this performance.
My only complaint about her is the fact that her accent just comes and goes to various levels.
You gotta let the accent thing go.
What's that?
Gotta let the accent thing go.
No, because it's like she had it at the beginning, and then it kind of disappeared as they went, which I totally get. But in this movie, it seemed like randomly, like from scene to scene, and it wasn't like Scarlet Witch versus other Wanda. It was like just like even a Scarlet Witch, like sometimes she'd have the accent, sometimes she wouldn't, and it's like just be consistent. That's all I'm saying.
All right. But
that is just to say that her performance was excellent. The only thing I could nitpick is the accent. Yeah.
But no, I love that whole moment. Then she basically decides that, she needs to stop this and kind of embrace, that she can't have her children with her and that her children will be safe where they're at, in all the other worlds and, her dreams and all this kind of shit. Here's the question I have for you. Because after she destroys everything, drops everything on her, do you really think she's dead?
The other Wanda?
No, the real Wanda. No, the other Wanda was up and.
You mean the Scarlet Witch Wanda? Sorry,
that's what I meant. The main Wanda. After she brought the whole castle down on herself, do you really think she's dead?
I don't remember. How did she die again?
She destroyed the basically the castle. She brought the castle down on top of herself and Zombie Strange.
Why am I having trouble remembering this? Okay.
So they're all there. They're all there, and then
I remember her realizing
America
she's a monster.
America and Wong basically get transported to where Rachel McAdams and Strange are, and they leave her there to basically destroy the book, and then she basically brings the throne down, basically saying like no one, or she's there with Zombie Strange, basically saying that I'm going to destroy the book. No one should have this kind of power. No one should be able to get this kind of power. Okay. And then she basically brings everything down on her.
Honestly, I have kind of a weird hole in my memory on this, but yeah, do I think she's dead? As dead as anyone can be in the MCU. I mean, do I think that she killed herself in that? Maybe, but then there's multiple versions of them, and who knows what's going on with the multiverse. And as much as I think that, and actually hope that this movie is kind of closing the door on the whole multiverse thing, the fact that America Chavez is out there and she can jump to worlds, and the fact that at the end we're not sure what's going on Doctor Strange in the eye. We'll get to that. So it's. I do not think she's 100% dead. No.
The reason why, now that you don't remember the scene, you're not going to be able to help me with this. The reason why I don't think she's dead is because as the thing's coming down on her, because at this point it would have already had landed on her. There's this pop of red, like she got out. Like there was a like everything's coming down, and like it would have already like landed on her at this point, and it starts to fall down, and you see this poof of red.
Well, I thought that was just supposed to be like like squish something.
But see, at that point where it was and where she was
like her magic dissipating.
I mean, it could have been, but I think that was more her, basically not dying, her kind of either getting out or teleporting or doing whatever. So I don't think she's dead. We might not see her for a while, but I don't think she's actually gone. Besides, didn't they say they were going to do a second season of Wanda, or was that just Loki?
No, Wanda's one that was definitely one and done. The only one that's been confirmed for a season 2 is Loki, and then
I think Falcon Winter Soldier was going to get a second season.
And then, well, that's it's never been 100% confirmed, because they're doing a Captain America 4 movie with him. And then Moon Knight said season finale, but then the producers say we don't know if there'll be another season. We know Moon Knight will continue somewhere, but anyway.
Yeah, and then Hawkeye, I think they said they were only going to do the one season.
Yeah, so WandaVision is just the one season.
Yeah, so trying to think where we left off at. Oh yeah, we had our moment with Strange and Christine where he's like, hey, I wish I could show you my world and stuff, and she's like, I can't go with you, which I don't understand why she couldn't have. Like, I get it too, Christine's in the world, maybe there's something that messes up with that, who knows. I would have been okay with her going with him at that point. But and then we get to the inevitable end of the film where they're all at Carmitage and America's training to become one of them, which once again, don't really see the reasoning behind that, except for maybe trying to harness her power, maybe kind of hone in how she can use her power better kind of thing. And then, we get the Sam Raimi ending, which was a total Sam Raimi ending, where he's walking down the street, everything's fine, and then he just fucking loses his shit in the middle of the street, and the third eye appears. And then cut to black, which is such a Sam Raimi ending to a film, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with that ending. Because literally at the post-credits, he's walking down the street totally fine. And I was like, wait a second, like, did that happen? And then all of a sudden he's got the eye and he seems okay. So I was like, no, you can't jump like that and have us feel like, okay.
Yeah, there's no logical explanation for that. Are you trying to say that this is dark? This obviously isn't Dark Strange because he got impaled, but I mean, we saw his eye open. So did he transfer his consciousness?
No, but remember they said, Christine said, anytime anyone uses the book, it affects the person reading it. It affects all that shit. So I think by doing that,
there's that, but I just don't like that. I think they should. I mean, if in a Sam Raimi one-off horror movie, great ending. For this, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, knowing that we're gonna get more Doctor Strange, clearly that third eye is gonna be coming up quite a bit. Then we get the first post-credit scene. I have no idea who Charlize Theron is playing.
The character's name is Clea.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot about her, although she is, I believe, Dormammu's niece or something like that. She's basically with Dormammu, but she's kind of like Thanos with Gamora. She's she's worked with him, but she's kind of against him.
Because when she opened the gates, I was like, that's Dormammu's area.
Yeah, and then
I recognized that right away.
And this just because I was sitting there while the credits rolling, while I'm waiting for the second credit sequence, I'm looking up who is Charlize Theron in Doctor Strange? Her name's Clea, and apparently also eventually she's been at various times married to Doctor Strange, so I guess he's going to be her new woman, maybe.
Okay.
I'm all for more Charlize Theron. So
good. That means we don't have to deal with nothing against Rachel McAdams' character. It's just she's just a character that doesn't really matter in terms of the
yeah, and now in our Earth she's married and living her own life.
yeah,
so
she's married. Yeah,
she can't be a love interest
I
anymore.
know. But yeah, and then the post credit scene was more Bruce Campbell, which I was fine with, but Brian hated.
It's like it's one of those things where it's like it's a silly scene to start with, and then to have waited through all the credits for whatever the post credit scene we see, and it's just him, and then he goes and looks straight at the camera and goes, "It's over." Like, whatever, dude. I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, I waited around for this.
Brian hates Bruce Campbell. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, like I said, that was pretty much the movie in its own. Like I said, it's not a perfect movie, but there are no perfect movies really ever out there. But I enjoyed so much of this film. I enjoyed so much of what Raimi brought to these characters and the brutality of the film and everything it had to offer. Like I said, there are some moments that didn't hit quite as good as they could have, probably hoped for. And then there were, moments where they should have stretched about 20 more minutes to give a little more thicker of a story to it all. But at the end of the day, I had a blast watching this movie. I had so much fun watching this. And it was, to me, a breath of fresh air for an MCU film because we got a horror film in the MCU, which is something I never thought we'd ever see. Like I said, I really, really liked it. Going through this, did it change your thoughts at all? I know sometimes when we do this, like our thought processes change a little bit.
Well, no, I mean it's I will say sitting in the movie, I was kind of a roller coaster because I was like, there were times I was really enjoying it, and there was times, although there were more moments than whole things, where I was kind of rolling my eyes and whatever. And so I came out, I don't know, I would almost say slightly disappointed, but not really, because I mean, like I said, I went in kind of expecting what I got, and I did enjoy the movie very much. So I wouldn't say that the discussion has really changed my opinion of it much.
So you're sticking around that 3.5?
It's more than 3. It's 3.5 to 4. But I kept it at 3.5 because I have the first one at 4, and I didn't like this one as much as the first one.
See, I'm still. I was hoping because I hadn't given my score yet, and I was like, I want to talk with Brian. I want to see if he sways me one way or another. And you really didn't like make me lower anything. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. It's right up there. It's right
so far this year, but okay.
No, but I mean, hey, this will make you feel better. I loved it more than the Batman.
I'll say much. Well, for you it is. For you it is. Yeah.
Yes, because I gave the Batman a 9 out of 10, and I liked it more than the Batman. Yeah, it's right around that like 91, 92, 93 thing for me. Because like the little things that were wrong with it, they're little things. They're nitpicks for me. They're Sam Raimi nitpicks. And I can't complain that, it should have been 20 minutes longer for more story. It's like, because that's, you can't knock a film for it not being longer. But it's just one of those things where it's like, of what we got and what I got to see, I really loved a lot of what it did, and very little things that I have issues with. So yeah, I haven't been able to lock it in yet. I would say it's between a 91 and a 93 for me.
I will say if I had to rank things right now, it probably is my number one film of the year. It's not going to stay there. It'll still be in the top 10.
Oh, it'll definitely probably still be in the top, unless we get blown away by stuff coming out the rest of the year. I'm stuck right now. I was like, is because of the hot dog fingers, it's definitely better than Everything Everywhere All at Once. As much as I loved it, I'm trying to decide if I liked it better than The Northman. Because like I said, the first 20 minutes of The Northman didn't really do much for me, but after that, I loved it. And it's like, did I like this better than The Northman? Part of me wants to say yes, but the other part of me is like, is it just because I just watched it, kind of thing. But right, it is definitely number 1 or number 2 of the year for me right now. Anything else you want to add on Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness before we end this thing?
No, I'm just looking towards the future though. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the future? What do you think?
They said Doctor Strange will return. I'm curious if they'll do another Doctor Strange movie, or if it's just going to show up in like a future, whether it be a Shang-Chi or I think America Chavez. It seems to me like they're setting up for either a show or for a future Young Avengers, because between her and Ms. Marvel and maybe even Kate Bishop, and even Ned. Who knows where they're going? I think they might be setting up towards like Young Avengers sometime in the future. I really like you though. I feel like they're never going to give us more Mordo, and I want to see Mordo versus Strange. It seems like they want to do this multiverse thing, and so they decided, we'll just forget the whole Mordo thing, and that bothers me.
I feel like we're gonna get one more, because I feel like when they signed Benedict on, I guarantee he probably signed a trilogy contract, solo trilogy contract. So
let me ask you this. I'm sorry. I feel like when I was watching the Camartage training at the end that they were doing, for some reason I feel like we're going to see like a Camartage army versus the Ten Rings army
Shang-Chi army
that his sister that was leading at the end. Because
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that. I could see something like I could see them doing something like Shang-Chi 2 ends up Shang-Chi 2 being almost like a Doctor Strange 3 kind of thing, and bring them together, and that could kind of be a trilogy for Doctor Strange. So I do think we're gonna get at least one more, or like something like that, where it's like a mix, like his film, kind of like how it was Wanda and Doctor Strange movie. So I do think
we're done with multiverse.
What's that? No, I don't think it's gonna be multiverse related.
No, I said, do you think we're done with multiverse?
Well, no, because I still think that the multiverse is gonna have to give us the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. There's no way they're gonna all of a sudden just randomly have mutants in our world. They're gonna have to find a way to bring them in somehow, and I feel like the multiverse is the way that that's going to happen, because you can't have all these characters, for the Fantastic Four and X-Men, and have them just been hanging around out there, not doing anything with their mutant abilities.
Well, the one theory that I've heard, and it like I said, this doesn't necessarily work, and we're getting on a tangent here, but the one theory I've heard that I thought worked really well was that when Thanos snapped people away and snapped him back, that it like activated some dormant gene or something that creates mutants.
The main reason why I don't think we're at the end of the multiverse is because we're getting a second season of Loki.
But here's the thing: is like this seemed like a whole. It seems like the one that's in here with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and with WandaVision. It seems like this is like a different thing. It's like this is multiverse, whereas that one is alternate timelines. This is like a whole different worlds that always existed. That one's like different things that happen, making it branch out differently. So I don't know.
But you gotta remember, at the end of Loki, they broke it. So I think, and with Kang the Conqueror and everything like that, I feel like they're all going to have to come together at some point.
I guess we'll get an answer next year with Quantumania, the Ant-Man, because that's the Kang one. So yeah,
I don't think it's going to. I think it's still going to be rather important, rather big. I don't think you're going to have anything that's going to have like the name multiverse or anything in it, but it's definitely got to come up again. Because I really don't see a way now. If they do the Thanos thing, I'm not against that as an option. But I mean, we still got Secret Wars coming. We still have to do something with the Skrulls, because it feels like forever.
I feel like that's going to be basically wrapped up or in Secret Wars, or it could be its own kind of separate thing. I feel like there's some storylines that aren't going to be like MCU whole storylines.
Like I say, it feels weird because it feels like the Skrulls were so long ago, but it wasn't. It was after Endgame. It's just because we haven't touched on them since Far From Home that it feels like it was forever ago. And it's like, it really wasn't. It was, in timeline, yeah, it was about 3-4 years ago, but a lot of that's because of COVID. That it feels like it was forever ago. But yeah, it's like, man, it feels like the Skrulls thing just died, but it didn't. It's just, they just haven't gotten to those movies yet for it.
Yeah, it's just another loose end storyline that's out there somewhere.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so much. Like I said, I don't think our current prediction that we had with when we said during our summer movie preview, I don't think this movie's going to be like Age of Ultron, where it's spider webbed out to everything. Now, because of America, could it branch off to this multiverse, like that? Yes, but I don't think it's like Age of Ultron, where because they did this in this movie that led to this, because they did this in this movie that led to this, like it did with Ultron did. So I think we were wrong in that prediction of it, which I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, not have spider webbing everything out. But nonetheless, we did get Krasinski as Reed Richards, and I'm so happy for that, even in a little moment that we got to see. And I love that the best death was from the worst character, like one of the worst characters in Marvel history, which was the Inhuman. That was such a badass kill. I was so great.
Well, it's like once your mouth is sealed shut, why did you try making the sound? I mean,
because the Inhumans are stupid. That's why. You know, but it's like, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, I'm going to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. The non-spoiler review, not that you really would watch that after watching this, is out. Also, Brian, Michaels, and myself, we did the X-Men Fantastic Four Fantasy Dreamcast, where we got Fantastic Four correct for Reed because we both said Krasinski. Now it's probably gonna be wrong, but you guys can watch that episode, see who we all guessed or who we would like to be in all those character roles. Next week we will be back for the Movie Crusaders chat about, where we were talking about movie marketing, the way they market movies, do trailers, all that kind of fun stuff. And then movies next week, we've got Firestarter and Senior Year. I don't know if I'm going to watch either one of those. If we do, we will have reviews for that. But yeah, until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.